In this video, I'm just going to give you some sample questions and answers and provide a bit of an analysis to show you why the answers are appropriate. We'll be looking at two different topic areas of questions, and each topic will have 4 questions. Let's look at the topic of studying first. This is quite a common topic that will often be used in the test. Do you like studying? Yes, I find it quite fun. It's great to find out new information and build up my knowledge and views on different topics. Do you prefer to study alone or with others? Usually I prefer studying with others because it can help me to fully understand what I'm trying to learn. If I have someone studying with me, we can share our ideas and explain things to each other. What subject did you enjoy the most when you were at school? When I was at school, I really enjoyed art lessons more than other subjects. My teacher was really good and encouraged pupils to be creative. What would you like to study in the future? I'd like to learn how to paint using watercolours. It looks like it would be really unforgiving, as controlling the paint or correcting mistakes is almost impossible. But I think I'd enjoy the challenge. You can see here the questions are pretty simple. Therefore, the answers are quite simple too. Remember, I said in an earlier video, you can't really show the examiner enough in part 1 to achieve band 8 or 9. You just need to give quick and clear answers. All of the answers have 2 sentences. This does not mean you have to always answer with 2 sentences, but it gives you a good guideline. The first sentence is a direct answer to the question. The first question starts with the phrase, "Do you like?" which is why the response begins with a direct yes. This is followed by paraphrasing language in the question a bit. Instead of saying, "I like it," it says, "I find it quite fun." This just shows a range of vocabulary and is great if you can do it, but often there's not enough time and you can just stick to the words in the question. The first short sentence is followed by a longer second one, which is giving a reason for the first sentence. It's quite clear and straight to the point. There is a bit of idiomatic language in the second sentence in the form of phrasal verbs. Find out and build up. All of the answers follow this kind of 2-sentence pattern. It makes the answer easy to understand, improving your coherence. You can see the 4 questions require you to use different tenses. The first 2 are asking you to talk in present tenses, the third, the past, and the 4th, the future. The answers fit the tenses of the question. You can see in the answer to question 3, the verbs use an ed ending to show it is referring to the past. The 4th question is asking the speaker to imagine something about the future. And it is clear from the answer that the speaker knows this. They use the words I would, followed by a verb. The words I and would are combined to form I'd, a common feature of connected speech that native speakers use regularly. Now, let's look at a set of questions for task 1 that's on a topic that is slightly more random and is a bit difficult to predict. Even though these questions can look a little more difficult, they are answered in the same way as the previous questions. The topic we're looking at is maps. A bit odd, you might think, but remember, they're looking to surprise you with something unpredictable. Do you ever use maps? Yes, if an electronic map counts as a map. When I'm driving to a new place, I just put the details into the GPS unit in my car and follow the directions. When do people usually need to use maps? Nowadays, with modern GPS systems, I can't imagine anyone really needs to use a map in the traditional sense. But maybe when people go on long hikes or bike rides, they only have access to a paper map. How did you learn to use a map? I guess I just taught myself. The electronic maps I use are pretty self-explanatory. Do you ever ask people for directions instead of using a map? No, I can't remember a time when I've asked someone for directions. It might be a male thing. I avoid it at all costs. The questions here may seem a bit strange, but they're answered in the same way. There's a direct answer and a small explanation. With these questions, there might be a bit of confusion with what the examiner means by a map. Is it just paper maps, or does it include GPS systems with maps that are used more commonly nowadays? Unfortunately, in part 1, we can't check with the examiner the exact meaning of the question. So, you can see in the answer to the first question, do you ever use maps? The speaker shows the confusion by saying, yes, if an electronic map counts as a map. You can also see in the answers for the next 2 questions, the speaker has made it clear whether they are talking about electronic or paper maps. As long as the answer is clear and is responding to the topic of the question, then it is good enough. Finally, in the last answer, you may be able to see a bit of idiomatic language with the phrase, I avoid it at all costs. Just meaning it is avoided whatever happens. Part 1 of the speaking test is not the most challenging and probably not the most important. But you need to give the examiner a good first impression, so it's worth practicing a bit. Part 2 is where you really get to impress the examiner. And I'll be moving on to this part of the test in the next video. Thanks for watching, and if you found the video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to make sure you don't miss any future videos.